Good morning. I was gonna say Vietnam, but that doesn't make any sense. Robin Williams, man. He was a good one. One of the best. You gotta wonder how there's certain individuals in the world that just have this amazing spark in the lives of so many people. How that happens. It's amazing. It's appreciated. Anyway, so I'm here, just leaving the gym, going to do a very short drive on the way back to the apartment, and we'll turn on FSD and see how everything rolls. Alright. Yeah, let's get some 90s music going from my generation, right? 90s deep dive. Okay, let's see what that's all about. Alright. Let's serve my waffle. There we go, much better music. Yeah, so a couple of good things is I noticed that the parking sensing has kind of come to life. A couple times when I'm about to park, the automation for parking pulls up, and I tried it once yesterday. It worked well, so that's good to see. I have been having just a few, I think I talked about in a previous video where the most recent release feels like it's one of those step back situations where everything kind of regresses. It's gotten a lot more cautionary. It hesitates again and really over-evaluates decisions before it moves along, and I've had to disengage a lot more in the past couple weeks since then. But I'm hoping at this point, usually about 2 to 3 weeks into this situation, it starts to smooth itself out and get back on track and make another progression forward. So anyways, let me turn back on. Here we go. We'll have a chat along the way. So this is all going to be street driving here. There was something on Twitter, I think I read this morning. So, the ongoing saga with media and mass media stations, NPR, PBS, New York Times, BBC, British Broadcast Station, and most recently the Canadian, local Canadian government station. There was a press conference with the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and he was flanked. They always do this in these events. The leadership, whoever it is, always has to have 7 to 10, 8 to 12 people around them. For what reason, I don't know. I guess it just shows they're not alone when they're sending this message. And but what was most interesting, and of course Elon Musk kind of pointed this out, is he's standing there. You've got the government official supporting the government publicly funded station, and in the backdrop is sponsorship by Ericsson. Ericsson, basically the mobile chip maker, and it just could not be any more on the nose, right? You're claiming this awful indictment of the public station by Elon Musk and Twitter because they labeled it as being publicly funded, and here you have public official flanked by other public officials, surrounded and blanketed by a huge sponsorship by corporate America, or corporate, in this case they're national, but a corporate entity, Ericsson. It's there's always this, kind of more of a tongue-in-cheek idea that we're living in a simulation, and this could not be a better example of why we possibly could be living in a simulation. The simulation is almost beating. It's either the simulation either has a sick sense of humor, or it just has gotten to the point where it's seeing the artificial intelligence that it's created in this environment of the individuals that live in this construct have become so, dense or obtuse that it can no longer be subtle. It just has to pound you on the head that there's something awful happening, and the simulation wants you to react. It's love of God. Corporations and government entities and media all colluding and coming together to basically to control and manipulate the masses that they are supposedly serving and representing. I couldn't tell if I should be laughing or crying because it is a one, I mean, you have to laugh because it was just so hysterical, the absurdity of it. And then you just cry because like here we are in this situation that is like so unnecessary, and you know it's been played out so many different times in history that you would think that we can like learn from it and do something better. I think I'm hopeful. I really do believe that this one will be different, that we'll come to our senses to recognize that this is just ridiculous and that there's a better way to go forward, that we're only hurting ourselves. Even the people that feel like they're gaining all this sort of power and wealth, they're going to be gaining power and wealth in a crumbling society that's going to end up being in civil unrest and complete, you know, just ultimately the only way out of it is to create your own little bubble, which eventually will also be busted. Like, why would you want to live in that kind of inequality or that kind of separation from the world when you can just do better? Give everybody a chance. Provide common foundations that support a good society. Strong education, a right to receive proactive and preventative health care and support during dire times, a work environment that allows for good distribution of the success that the work produces, so that it's not all just bubbling to the top of the corporation, to the executives and CEOs. Like the idea to have like 1,000-to-1 ratio of pay for CEO to your worker is just, on its surface, it's just like clearly wrong. Especially when that CEO is not the founder, is not the creator, they didn't come up with this business, they're basically just simply a figurehead or that's managing the situation, and many times just benefiting from the momentum that the business has already created over time. It's just simply wrong. I mean, it's obvious, but I guess, if you can, you will, unless you have a greater purpose or meaning in your life. But yeah, so that one just, I've been thinking about it this morning, laughing, crying. What are we gonna do? Anyway, so that's that. Besides that, it's a beautiful day. I mean, this is just like, it's been gorgeous the last few days. It just really kind of has me feeling nostalgic because I don't know if it's the combination of the music I'm listening to, obviously, honestly, and the weather just reminds me more of like growing up. It was such like during this time in spring, growing up mostly in Georgia suburbs, is it always had like a crispness in the air. There was like a mixture of warmth, but still underlining like coolness still passing through for the end of winter and entering into spring. So and there's that kind of like smell in the air of renewed growth, with the trees kind of reestablishing their green leaves and the flowers and the plants just kind of blossoming again. And there's like, I think almost like there's a bit of a clean, I don't know, the air just feels a little bit cleaner right now. There's not like a lot of pollen or haze, and it just is really beautiful right now in this moment, and really enjoying it. So hopefully you guys, wherever you're at, are enjoying your time. No matter what, you always have to enjoy the moment and continue to do the best you can, and that's what I try to do. So good stuff. Alright, so far this drive has been good. As always on this stretch, it's pretty straightforward, handles everything pretty well. Got the Tesla earnings coming out later today. Got a lot of my own thesis around, like, I think commodity prices coming down, transportation prices coming down, overall cost of goods for them should be reflected in these deflationary tendencies or trend that has been occurring over the past 2 quarters, and them really hitting their stride with scale and their overall standing creditworthiness being improved. So yeah, I think it should be a good quarter for real. So looking forward to that. I wanted to get over to Texas to see the Starship launch. Would love to have been there. It just happened so quickly. Like they announced the FDA approval, then they were going to try it on Monday, which obviously they didn't follow through with what they found initially of the wet at what do they call it? Basically, where they got all the way to the point of launch and then stopped it 10 seconds before. So taking those learnings and looking like they're going to reassess and push for a possible launch tomorrow on April 20th. Just love it. But no, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get there, unfortunately. But we'll definitely be doing it with the millions of other people around the world. See how this goes. It could be a big reflective moment in our history to see this. Whatever happens, see the next step forward to becoming multiplanetary. I've kind of been getting a bit into this, wormhole about the history of the civilization, history of the world, and how there's these new theories, or maybe not new, but more theories that are becoming more available or bubbling up to general public, I guess, away from the fringes somewhat, about how there's been previous societies that have been as advanced, if not more advanced, than our current society, just in different ways, different paths, different structures, but we're able to do many things that we were doing, and particularly around the Egyptian monuments, the pyramids and the Sphinx, that those were not part of the Egyptian civilization that everyone had believed. I didn't even notice until just recently that the idea, or the idea I think most people understood, is that these monuments were created by Egyptians to house their pharaohs and their kings and queens, but that wasn't the case. There's actually never ever been a mummy found in these structures. But the other alternative theory is that these structures were found by the Egyptian civilization when they came upon it, and then they basically used it as a site of worship because obviously they found something in the middle of nowhere, and that was unexplainable. So when something's unexplainable, you give it a aura, and in this case, you worship it. And so if it didn't come from them, then who did it come from? And there's this idea that Earth and the world here goes through cataclysmic type events every 600,000 years or so, which apparently we're overdue for one. But in that case, something with the magnetic fields being moved and the world having basically stopped in its path during this event, where everything else continued moving, caused like these unimaginable types of flooding and tidal waves and ground shiftings that initially annihilated these previous civilizations that were more than 11,000 years ago, or 5,000 years before the Egyptians were there. So really cool, interesting stuff, and kind of poignant in the idea of space travel. Like, you really just don't know what can happen in our current world, and maybe we're not the first civilization to get to this point, but we may end up repeating history if we don't advance further quickly, so that we have an option to get off this planet, to give our opportunity to survive a cataclysmic event like that. All right, we're there. This was it. No disengagements. A smooth ride. Everything looks good. Go FSD beta. Talk to you later.